Today, you fraction superheroes, we're going to add 3 or more fractions with common multiples. You're going to need a pen, a piece of paper, and your brain switched on. Now we know how to add fractions if the denominator is the same. However, what do we do if the denominator is different? Well, there are lots of ways, but the most important thing is to find a common denominator. In this case, a lowest common denominator. Now you can of course list all your 2 times table, all your 4 times table and all your 8 times table until you find the lowest common denominator, but as 2 and 4 are both factors of 8, the lowest common denominator here is going to be 8. So once we've done that, we need to find the equivalent fraction of half in 8ths. And by doing that, we need to work out how many times 2 goes into 8 using our 2 times table. Now, 2, 4, 6, 8 is 4 times. So we're going to multiply the bottom by 4. And as you know, whatever we do to the bottom, we always do to the top. So we're going to multiply the top by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8 and 1 times 4 is 4. So we have 4/8. That's the equivalent fraction of a half. And we need to do the same again with a quarter. Now again, we're going to work out how we get from 4 to 8 and we times it by 2. 4 times 2 is 8. And whatever we do to the bottom, we always do to the top. So we're going to times that by 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. Okay. Once we've done that, it's much easier to work out how to answer the calculation. All we're going to do is add up our 8ths to find the answer. So we have 4/8 plus 2/8 plus 1/8. Now, as you know, if we're adding fractions that all have the same common denominator, we keep the denominator the same. So in this case, our denominator is going to be 8. Then we have the 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 1 equals 7. So the answer is 7/8. If this was an improper fraction, you'd need to convert the improper fraction to a mixed fraction. But in this case, it's not. Now, as we know how to do it now, we can have a look at another one. We have 2/5 plus 6/10 plus 7/20. And the first thing we have to do is find the lowest common denominator. Now we could list all of the 5 times table, the 10 times table and the 20 times table out. But in this case, 5 and 10 are both factors of 20. So our lowest common denominator in this case is 20. Now once we've done that, we need to find the equivalent fraction of each of our other fractions, so 2/5 and 6/10. We need to find out how many times 5 goes into 20 using our times tables. So 5 goes into 20, 5, 10, 15, 20, 4 times. Now whatever I do to the bottom, I always do to the top. So again, I'm going to times 2 by 4. Now 5 times 4 is 20 and 2 times 4 is 8. So the equivalent fraction 2/5 in 20ths is 8/10. Now let's do the same again for 6/10. So how many times does 10 go into 20? Well, of course it goes twice. And whatever we do to the bottom, we always do to the top. So in this case, we're going to multiply 6 by 2. Now 10 times 2 is 20 and 6 times 2 is 12. So the equivalent fraction to 6/10 in 20ths is 12/20. Now, as it's super easy because we've got 20ths all together now, all we need to do is add them up. So we can add each fraction keeping the denominator the same. So we have 8/20 plus 12 twentieths plus 7 twentieths. Now 8 plus 12 is 20, plus 7 is 27. So our answer is 27 20th. But this is an improper fraction, so we need to convert this improper fraction to a mixed fraction. Now, we know that 20 20ths equals 1. So if 20 20ths equals 1, that leaves us 7 left over. So our answer is 1 and 7 20ths. Let's have a go at one more before you try. Okay, so we have to find the lowest common denominator. Now again, as said before, we could list them all, but as 8 and 4 are both factors of 16, we know that 16 can be our denominator. So the first thing we do after that is we have to convert 1/8 into 16ths. Now we work this out by finding out how many times 8 goes into 16. So 8 goes into 16 using our times tables, 8, 16, so 2 times. And whatever we do to the bottom, we always do to the top. So 1 times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 8 times 2 is 16. So 1/8 is equivalent to 2 16ths. Then we move on to 3/4. And again, we'll find out how many times 4 goes into 16. So let's do our 4 times table. 4, 8, 12, 16. So it's 4 times 4 goes into 16. And whatever we do to the bottom, we always do to the top. So 3 times 4. Now 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times 4 is 12. So the equivalent fraction in 16ths is 12 16ths. Now we've got our 3 fractions which all have a common denominator. We're going to add them up, keeping the denominator the same. So we have 2 16ths plus 12 16ths plus 5 16ths. Okay, so 2 plus 12 is 14, and 14 plus 5 equals 19. So 19 16ths is our answer. But wait, if it's an improper fraction, we need to convert it back to a mixed fraction. So if 16 is our denominator, then 16 parts of 16 would make one whole. So we have 19 parts. So if we take 16 from that 19, we're left with 3 parts left. So in this case, the answer would be 1 and 3 16ths. Now it's your turn. Here's 3 calculations for you to solve. Don't forget, if you get stuck, you can simply rewind the video and watch it over again. Don't forget to tweet your answers to @LearnWithMrEd on Twitter. Good luck. Don't forget to tweet your answers to @LearnWithMrEd. Subscribe now, and don't forget to watch our other videos.